like in the moment, I can say the pain that I'm feeling right now isn't my fault. Now, yeah, that feels good because I don't have to be responsible.
Short term.
Yeah. But then long term, I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life because I'm not going to do shit about it.
That's exactly right. That's it. Yeah.
So whether we like it or not, we're going to have pleasure and pain and suffering either way.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, what sort of life do you want to live? It's fucking hard to eat healthy. But it's also hard not to eat healthy because you're going to feel fat and shit about yourself. So what hard do you want? What suffering do you want? Do you want to suffer by getting up in the morning and going out to the gym when it's cold and shitty and you don't want to do that? Is that the suffering that you want? Or do you want to suffer because you look in the mirror and you hate yourself? When I was about 2021, my best mate's 3-year-old niece was killed in a car accident. And I just remember, how can life just be taken away just like that? Now, there's a small part of me that gets really pissed off when people have a choice to live a great life and they just don't fucking do it.
Hey guys, this is Adam from Adam Movement Therapy, and welcome to the very first episode of the Movement Therapy podcast. So I was kind of really stressing before this guy rocked up today, the Mojo Master. I'm thinking, just started my podcast, and my dad's down the road. He's revving the motorbike. He's making all sorts of noise, and I'm thinking he's coming down with a McLaren or something like that. He's coming down too early, and I haven't got everything set up. So I'm gritting my teeth and I'm thinking, fucking hell, he's like, I'm panicking. I haven't got anything ready or anything like that. But man, I'm just happy to have you here. Really, I'm really stoked, man. So I'm
pleasure.
Super keen.
Well, I was going to bring one of the cars, but it's raining, so I can't be. Well, it was raining this morning, so I can't be bothered driving it that way. If not, I got to wash them.
Yeah. No, totally get that. I only wash my car probably once every 6 months. So
oh shit!
But it's in the drive because I work from home. It's in the driveway. It hardly gets out of the garage, man. So, but I can only imagine. So we'll kick it off. So the idea here, we want to kind of make sure we'll just kind of introduce you to the viewers and whatnot. I know a little bit about you, but the best way I suppose to explain it to you, just kind of, I know it's a real broad question, man, but like. Just tell me about like how do you help people?
I just optimize, human performance. That's it. So, I originally started off working in physical therapies as well, personal trainer. Right. Got into strength and conditioning. Love that side of it. Helped set up a franchise system. And then, I had a lot of body image issues growing up, and just thought that the gym was like the best place. I'd finish back years ago, even before that, I would finish my job as a diesel mechanic and then go straight to the gym. And it was like it was almost like my meditation was after work, just going to the gym and training. And what I found was during the day as a diesel mechanic, I'm working with all these guys who are complaining about how shit their job is, how shit their life is, how shit everything is. And then you go to the gym and everyone just talks about training and exercise and, like you're doing well and you look like you're leaning up. And so I found it was just like this really encouraging environment. And I just wanted to be part of that. So back in the day, it was, I think, 18 months to become a personal trainer. So I studied after hours.
No way. Yeah.
So
it's changed a lot then.
It definitely has.
Yeah.
And I used to go to, I'd finish my 10-hour shift as a mechanic and then I would head to go and study at TAFE. And then, just worked in that industry, loved it, helped set up the franchise system. And the boss said to me, look, do you want to go out and start training other trainers? And I thought, I'd love to do it. But at the same time, I'm shitting myself because I've got all these body image issues and, just feeling shit about myself. And even though I was like lean and ripped and all that stuff, but I still had like these, these demons in the closet. Just started speaking and teaching. And I just found like when I got in that zone of teaching others and helping others, like that, all of that shit just left. So, I did that, and that's really where I found my love of speaking. And then eventually I ended up leaving the gym that I was working at when I worked at Fitness First, when it first opened at Highmarsh here.
Yeah. So how long were you a PT for, like roughly? Like how many years?
8 or 9 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. That's good.
And then I ended up leaving there, and I got poached to come and work at a medical centre on Grange Road. So I was there for 3 years. Down the bottom, I used to work with Adam Murphy, who's the 36ers strength conditioning coach.
Oh, right, okay.
So he was my business partner, and I mentored him actually when he was a personal trainer. And we were good mates. And I worked there for about 3 years, and I just found that most people who are coming in the medical centre knew what to do. They just didn't fucking do it. And then that's when I started realising there was a bit more to what I wanted to get out of people than just the physical side of things, even though that was so important. And I guess it's a bit of a feedback loop. Like, you know, if you've got a shitty mindset, it's probably going to lead to a shitty body. And if you can get people moving, then, you know, it tends to improve their mindset as well. So it's sort of like this feedback mechanism that works back and forward, like the body and the mind.
Yeah.
So I started diving into studying about human behavior, and I just found that there were way too many gaps. There was just, you know, like most people think about positive thinking and being happy and you know, helping people, but there was just these huge gaps that no one was addressing. Like, first of all, it takes a bloody 8-year-old studying physics to realize that anything with a positive charge attracts a negative charge to stabilize itself.
Okay, yeah.
So the idea of positive thinking is completely fucking flawed straight off the bat.
Yeah.
You know, because we either want to have a stable mind or we want to have a positive mind. A positive mind is unstable because it's going to attract a negative in order to stabilize again.
Okay.
And things in nature are always stabilizing, whether you're studying chemistry or physics or whatever.
Yeah, it's always balancing. It's
trying to balance itself. So I wanted to dive deeper into that and sort of try to figure it out. I was studying a lot of New Age philosophy and that sort of stuff as well. So I started getting into that bit of spirituality movement. And then I just kept studying and kept learning, and I wanted to go down that path of just helping everybody. But then I realized there's like groups of people that really want to be helped, and then there's everybody else who you want to help them, but they just don't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
You know, what I've found is that there are two types of people that are brilliant to work with. Those who are performing at their peak and want to keep performing at their peak because they know that, like, if you're at the top, there's only one way and it's down, and you don't want to go down.
Okay.
Or there's the people who hit rock bottom and they realize that they've got nothing else to lose, so they're going to start to try and push back up. And most people in our society who are in the middle, who are like, life's shitty, but it's not bad enough and it's not good enough, and they have goals and sort of dreams and aspirations, but they're not really driven to achieve them, they're the worst people to work with, I reckon, because there's just not enough pain and there's not enough pleasure to make a move.
That's it. So they're comfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest discomfort, especially living in this country. Like, you wake up, you can't really be fucked working, but you go to work, you work 9 to 5, you get paid your paycheck at the end of the week. Your life's average, and it's not shit, but it's not great.
Yep.
And you've got goals, but you still get your 4 weeks your 4 weeks holiday plus public holidays, and you can put food on the table. And so there's no real need to be any better. Whereas you go to countries like, I travel to Johannesburg every couple of years. And when you're there, like, if you're not working, you're fucked. Like, you do not feed your family. And I mean, I met a young guy there who I became mates with, and he grew up living in tent city. So they live in a fucking tent with, like, I don't know, maybe 100,000, if not 500,000 other people. You got to walk to pump your water out and shit like that. And he would literally wake up in the morning and walk like 10 kilometers, get on a bus with as many people as they could pack on the bus, go for like an hour, and then walk like another half an hour to get to work, and then work all day and do that again. And that was that was his life. So I found he was a really interesting guy because he was super driven to not be like that anymore.
I can totally understand that.
Yeah, I just find, like, most people in this country, and you probably worked with them as well. Like, I want to have that good body, but at the same time, like, I don't want to give up anything in order to get something better.
And it's like approach avoidance, sort of.
And I think Australians have this habit of, like, my life's shit, but it's not shit enough to change. And it's really sad. Because I think that something that I love working with is human performance and, like, optimizing that. And so I find, like, when someone has a big reason, a big goal, and they're driven to achieve something, it's like the pain of not having that goal already is actually their driver. So it just depends where most people's pain points are. And I just find that most Australians, like, pain's there, but it's not bad enough to do anything about it.
Or not bad enough, or they don't want the pleasure enough. Pain, pleasure type thing. So, all right, cool. That's a really big explanation for me. So, there's a lot in there. So, let's kind of talk about, like, a bit more about so we kind of know what you do and stuff, like, when you're training in the gym, what sort of stuff do you like to do anyway?
I'm going to go home train today.
Cool.
Well, look, I'll run you through what I've done this morning, actually, today so far. So I woke up, I did a 1 hour ride at probably about 120 beats a minute, 130 beats a minute, just to get the heart rate going, but nothing too extreme. Then I had a couple of meetings, then came home, did a little bit of stretching while I ate some lunch, just quickly ate some food, and then obviously here now. Then I'll go home. Today's a bit of a day off, so I get a bit more time to train than what I normally would.
Okay, cool,
and then I'll probably go home, and I will probably do, what did I have on the agenda today? Probably a bit of like sort of semi-back day with a lot of pulling movements.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know, I work a lot on the computer as well, and I'm working long hours. So some days are like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours in front of the computer.
That's decent.
Yeah, and I just find like my pecs and everything tighten up.
Yeah,
you know, I start getting
turn
that
into a caveman.
Yeah, that mid-lower back pain. You know, traps switch off, glutes switch off, lower back pain. Yep. So I try to incorporate a lot of stuff around those types of movements as well. I used to train in order to look a certain way, and whereas these days it's more just to feel good in my own body and to keep doing what I love. And you know, if I'm going to work 100 hours a week or 80 hours a week or whatever it is, I've got to counterbalance the stupidity of sitting in front of a computer and all of that sort of stuff. Plus, I'm out for a lot of like coffee lunches and dinners and things like that as well.
So offset the calories.
Well, I try to, but I'm not doing a good job of that. I mean,
it's hard to exercise a bad, not so great diet. It's hard work.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, that's a lifestyle. Back in the day, you know, I was always worried about being ripped and having a six pack. And, you know, go on a Stereosonics and having being shredded and all of that stuff. But you know, these days not so much. It's more about I just want to live a bit of a healthy lifestyle and still be strong. You know, I'm 37 now, turned 38 this year, and I'm feeling better than what I did at 21. My energy's better than what it was back then. And so I guess I do a lot more. When I think about movement and exercise, back in the day it was all like just lift heavy, get massive. Whereas these days it's like, how do I make my body not disintegrate and fall apart, or how do I sit there in a meeting and not have consistent back pain and shoulder pain and all that sort of shit. I still train almost every day, but just not like I used to, that's for sure.
Okay. Yeah, it's good. I suppose it's good just these days, because I remember like a foam roller, I wouldn't even see, like, I remember first seeing that in a gym and I was like, oh, what's this thing? Like, and no one knew how to use it. Whereas now, like, you can buy foam rollers that came up for like $5 or something. So it's really come a long way in far as it comes for like that self-care sort of stuff and self-massage stuff, which which is why I've kind of gotten into it and that sort of thing. So so kind of coming back to like I suppose like your experience in the gym and stuff like that. When you're talking about like, have you had kind of like you've gone into those, what's been your experience, I suppose, with injuries and pain and stuff in the gym?
My personal experience like working with other people?
No, your personal experience. Kind of make it about you a bit more. What have you kind of run into?
I'm a crash test dummy for stupid shit in the gym. Look, I've been pretty lucky. I've never, even though a lot of friends and a lot of clients over the years have gone down the path of like, steroids and shit like that. I never went down that path, so I was quite lucky to not go down that path. But in regards to like training and things like that, I guess I was my own crash test dummy. I used to test everything. So, you know, I first of all, originally when I got into the gym, it was just, you know, bro science really.
Just bro splits and...
it was like back, legs, chest.
How old were you when you got into the gym?
When I first started training, I was 13.
13? Oh, wow. Very early. I was only 17. So
my dad used to play SANFL football, and also he played cricket for SA off and on. He never really made it big, but that was just because he hated training and didn't really give a shit about training. So he would get best on ground, but he'd just not rock up to training and shit like that. So then he'd get dropped, and then they'd bring him back in. And so he just sort of messed around and dabbled in that sort of stuff for a little bit. And then after that, he gave up. He used to play, I guess, A-grade football and things like that, because then he didn't have to train. But, you know, he used to lift weights at home. And so, you know, I just started getting involved in that, and I was a bit overweight as well. You know, I enjoy food. So, you know, it's been something since I was a young kid. And that's what got me into it. But proper gym, I think I first started at... I reckon I was 18.
Okay,
18.
When you got serious with it, sort of thing.
When I, you know, it was like protein shakes and creatine and shit like that. Before that was just, you know, I'd read books and things like that. But it was probably 18 when I started going to the gym seriously, like every day, you know, doing splits and... But it was all just bro science. It was like the big dudes at the gym would just tell you, you know, you need to do this and you got to lift this much weight. But then I blew out my back when I was 21, I think.
Did not know that.
I was at work, and as a diesel mechanic, you know, lifting lots of heavy shit in awkward situations. And I just one day I was lifting like a part out of I think it was like a acid bath, and as I lifted it, my back just went bang, and it fucking killed me.
What, just locked up, or?
I just remember it was like someone had just almost like smashed me with a sledgehammer at the same time as like stabbing a knife in my back.
Fucking hell.
Then the next morning, I remember having a shower, and I got out the shower and my back just locked. and I couldn't move, like I couldn't move anywhere. So I fell on the ground and grabbed a towel and put it over me and called out to my mum. I was living at home at that time. And then she sort of took me to the doctors and everything, and I had a bulging disc. So I think it was L5S1. So I had that, then went through all the physio and all that, and then because it was a work cover injury and stuff like that, it was just a fucking nightmare. I mean, that whole work cover stuff, like I know there's people who rip off the system and there's a lot of dodgy shit that goes on in it, but at the same time, there's a lot of people as well who that system just, essentially it's a fuck system. Like it's not built for any other purpose apart from everyone trying to save their own ass and no one wanting to take responsibility for anything. And so then money just gets exchanged around and everyone's just trying to get what they can. It's just a shit system. So, you know, like when I went to the physio, they can only touch like your back from like your ass cheek to, I don't know, like thoracic area. And other than that, they can't touch anything else because it's a work cover injury. So that sort of got passed around and palmed around. If you want to go and get massage, then you got to do it off your own back. And it was just bullshit. So anyway, I went through that, did all the rehab, and that's, I guess, what led me to want to become a personal trainer more, because I just didn't want to be in the diesel mechanic industry anymore. Whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, that was probably like my first decent injury. Then started getting like shoulder issues. Just from heavy lifting and dumb shit at the gym. Fuck, what else?
What's the stupidest thing you've done in the gym, you reckon?
I don't know. I haven't. I've always been, even though like I've done crazy stuff, as in like lifting heavy and things like that, or you know, I remember doing a big deadlift session with you know, two other guys who are a lot bigger than me. One of them was like a ex-Olympic weightlifting champion, or a national weightlifting champion who went to the Com Games and stuff. Stuff like that was a bit stupid, but nothing really major. Like I haven't torn any muscles or
that's
done,
good then.
I haven't done anything too crazy, but it's just like the lasting effects of doing stupid shit at the gym, you know, like consistent overtraining. I've
not taking a day off when you, when
just
you need
things
to,
like that, you know,
just going. So kind of like, I suppose, like when you're going to the gym, would you say like you're kind of like an all, or you used to be like an all or nothing type personality and you found it hard to pull back? Would that kind of describe you a bit? Or
and because I always just love being around people in the gym as well, you know, like as a personal trainer, I would be in the gym. I've already done my session in the day. Like I'd get to the gym at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock, do my cardio, then you know, eat breakfast, then train clients. Then at lunchtime I'd go and do my weight session with a couple of the boys. Then in the afternoon, you know, some of the bigger guys come in and they're like, "Oh, come on, jump in with us because you don't have a client." "Oh, yeah, all right, I'll throw on a shoulder session as well." And so it was just like a lot of overtraining. And back then, you know, I mean, at the moment I've been working with James Newberry, the CrossFitter. And I mean, they're training like 5 or 6 hours a day anyway. But they're really spot on with like their recovery and ice baths and saunas and massage and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Whereas back when I was, you know, doing my stuff, overtraining wasn't spoken about. It was just like, you just train and you train and you train and you train. And it was like creatine, protein, and then there was like heaps of gear. And so it was like, if you wanted to be natty, it was shitloads of protein shakes. And back then it was only like protein bars were just starting to come out. So it was protein shakes, creatine, and then, you know, that was the natural line. And then you had like all of the big boys, and the big boys were like, you know, massively juiced up and, you know, swollen as hell. So it was a bit of the Wild West. And I think that's what led me to get into the pull check sort of stuff as well.
I know a bit about that.
So I went down that path, and I did all of his holistic lifestyle coaching courses as well. So I'm a level 3 in that, and then I was a level 2 or 3 practitioner as well. So I spent a couple of years studying through his methodologies. Did like some of the Poliquin stuff as well back in the day. And then I guess after a while, my body started falling apart a lot more, and because I was working in the medical center, that helped a lot, because I got to see how the physios were working, how the doctors thought about things. And I mean, even that was an eye-opener with the different therapies and the treatments that were there. I mean, I think we've come a long way in training.
I think so, definitely. I suppose I feel like getting back to like the recovery side of things, I feel like now it's a bit more, because you talk to people about doing ice baths or saunas and stuff like that. It's a lot more you know, almost glamorized in a little bit more, a little bit more these days. So whereas like you said, back in the day, like just, you know, just hanging around, you just only know the information, you know, from the 5 guys that are around you, you know? So especially if they're on the roids or something like that, trying to get information from those guys, it's, you know, it's not really going to sit it's not going to be that useful for someone who's not taking the rewards, because their recovery is going to be awesome no matter what they do. But for you, it's going to be like, how do they do it? So because they've got a little secret, something like that. So, but I suppose I'm just really happy that foam rollers and stretchy bands and all this sort of stuff is coming a lot more commonplace in everywhere.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So
when I first started, I remember going to Filex the first time I went to Filex, and that was the first time I ever saw foam rollers, and I think it was the Canadians were bringing that stuff over, and I'd never ever seen them in Australia.
Yeah, it's like what?
And then the same as the bands, like there was a guy called, he used to do a lot of ice hockey shit. I'm just trying to remember his name.
Okay.
But anyway, he was like one of the first people that I'd actually seen using elastic bands or any sort of band.
Oh, the power bands and stuff.
Yeah, for ice hockey players. So that's like, we hadn't really seen that as well in Australia. So it was really cool, like in the early, 2003 to 2005, 6, 7, like seeing that stuff come out to where we are today.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, saunas were like the things where old dudes that hadn't like shaved their fucking rug for like 15 years or whatever would walk around like half naked in the gym change rooms and just hang out in there all day. But like, these days it's purposeful. There's a reason. Same as ice baths and
there's a lot more science to it too.
It's been a cool progression.
It's exciting time really. So cool. All right, that's So let's kind of talk about, I suppose, because you got that background in mindset and doing that sort of coaching sort of stuff. Let's kind of I'll give you like a typical kind of client that would come in here, say they've injured and, they've got a sore shoulder or something. What I find so if someone comes in and they used to be training at a certain level, but they're having to drop all the way down to here and then build back up. What kind of advice can you give to them, or what kind of advice would you give to them when it comes to your expertise, I suppose?
Okay. So if I'll just, I'm just trying to get the client. But look, the first thing is, if we're going to work with someone like that, you have to understand what's driving them, like what's driving their behavior. And I think that a lot of the problems that are going on now around mindset, mental health, and even physical training is we have to understand, like, every one of us is driven by certain drivers. Those drivers, for most people in our society, it's goal-driven, not mission-driven. So that's a problem in itself, because goals, when you achieve them, then what do you do next? You either have to set another goal, or you go backwards. And then pain becomes your driver. And so a lot of people, they will, when they're in pain, like say for instance, if they're fat and overweight, they lose weight, they get to where they want to be, they hit that goal, and then they've got no other reasons. So then they sabotage it all, go back, and then they just keep going like that, back and forward.
I can totally,
and that's because they don't have a big long-term mission. I think goals will only get you so far, but goals are really unfulfilling. The way I always describe these in my events, and I guess I didn't really answer the question before about what I actually do, but it's all mental performance. So when you've got a goal, that's like the stop-off point. It's really meaningless. It's just to say we're on the right track. Whereas the mission is like, what are you dedicating your life to?
What's the clouds? The why, I suppose. Is that what we're kind of getting at?
That's exactly what it is. Like, why do you do what you do? So then you've got your purpose, you've got your values. Your values are a filtration mechanism for your own reality, and I won't go too deep into that. But they work, every one of us has a completely different set of values, and those values determine the way we see the world. So no two people see the world in exactly the same way, because we're all filtering it different. This morning I had a meeting with a guy, and he consistently spoke about his family and consistently spoke about his career. They're probably two of his highest values. So when it comes to physical exercise and movement, as a health coach, you're going to have a high value on health, but he's not going to have a high value on health. He's consistently going to be thinking about family and career. So he's going to want to work 60 to 80 hours a week. And then he's also going to want to spend the rest of the time with his family. So you change the diet of a person like that, and he's going to fucking hate it. And he's not going to stick to it unless you link it to the improved outcomes of those two things that are important to him. So how does changing his nutrition help him to be better in business? How does changing his nutrition help him to be a better dad? So there you've got values, then you've got the purpose, and then you've got the mission. Now the mission is like the long-term vision. And so unless you've got that, most people are driven by goals, but then even most people who have goals are unclear with what they're really trying to achieve, which really means most people are just dabbling.
Yep.
Like you ask them, what are your goals? And they'll be like, oh, I want to improve my health and I want to, have a family and I want to make more money. And you go, well, what does that look like? And they go, well, I just want to be financially stable. And you go, what does that fucking mean?
Yeah, very vague.
I don't know about you, but every time I've met someone who actually has a goal of getting some sort of financial stability, when they grow their wealth, they just commit to bigger goals. And then that means that now as they start to grow, they need more money. So we're never really stable. And the same with health. Like you never get there.
Yeah, it's not a one way. Yeah, you gotta always keep doing it. It's not like, oh, I'll be healthy when this happens.
Yep.
It's like you always gotta keep being healthy.
Yes.
That's
And so you've got to establish really with that person who's coming in, like, why? Why is it important for you to physically rehabilitate your body or get your body working effectively? Because without that why, we're going to set a goal and you might have a short-term goal. Other things are going to get in the way. You're going to get frustrated, or you're going to be so dedicated on that one thing that other things are going to turn to shit around you. And I describe a mission like this. If I'm going to Adelaide to Melbourne with my mates on a road trip, the end goal of the mission might be to get to Melbourne and have fun.
Yep.
But imagine getting in the car and me saying, look, shut the fuck up. We're not going to talk. We're not even going to enjoy ourselves. And what we're going to do is when we get to, when we get like 2 hours into the drive, we're going to get out and we're going to eat some food and that's going to be our goal. How boring do you reckon that road trip's going to be?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
So most people who are very goal-driven live this fucking boring life.
Yep.
They get to a point, they celebrate when they get there and they're like, woo, we've achieved something. And then they go, shit, I better set another goal because if I don't set another goal, I'm not going to achieve anything or I'm going to sabotage my goal. And so their life is like this suffering with this small point of reward. And what I discovered was when I went back and I actually started having a look at a lot of the theories around habit creation and why we set goals, like why goals are so important in the psychology industry, in the mental performance space and the motivation space and the human development space and whatever. What I found was that the majority of studies that are done on habit creation are done with mice and then they're done on a reward system using sugar or cocaine, water or cocaine water.
Okay.
Now, sugar we know is a massive stimulant and cocaine is a massive stimulant.
Yeah.
And it fires off reward centers in the brain, gives us a massive dopamine rush. But anything that goes up or is artificially stimulated has to crash.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that if I put a mouse in a maze and I run through the maze and then I artificially stimulate it, it's going to get a massive fucking high and then it's going to have a massive crash afterwards.
Yeah.
So the goal, the idea of habit creation goal setting is like you're going to suffer for the next however long until you get this goal. Then you're going to get a reward. That reward is going to massively stimulate you.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're going to crash and feel like shit. Because anytime you're hyperactive, you're going to be hypoactive at some point.
Yeah.
So the body has to create some sort of a homeostasis. So you can't have a high without a low. And none of your hormones can have a high without a low either. So if you're artificially stimulating certain hormones like dopamine or neurochemicals, then they're going to crash. So the whole theory behind goal setting is just shit.
Okay.
Because I need a reward because of my suffering.
And I suppose that kind of comes back to like, it's not, when you're talking about the goals, it's like you're not enjoying the process.
Whereas if you love what you do and you're doing something because you actually enjoy it, then you don't need a reward. The reward is the process.
Yes, yeah.
Yep. And so when you have a good, clear mission in life, you love the life that you live. So you don't need artificial stimulation through like buying shit you don't need, overeating food. You don't need it through drugs. You don't need it through alcohol. And that's, if you have a look at most of our society, those people who achieve at a fairly high level have high uses of cocaine, high uses of alcohol, high stimulation of like buying shit. And most of them are fucking miserable anyway. I've worked with them. Like I've had a $1 billion client list. In fact, I work with some of the highest performers in the country in business. And just that whole environment is just this toxic, I don't know what you'd call it, like almost fucking trash bag. It's just full of just shit and toxicity because there's all these people that are working extremely hard. They're suffering from like 9 to 5. Or from even, let's say, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night time. They're artificially stimulating themselves with cocaine in order to, work that long hours, but then they're drinking a bottle of wine at lunchtime. Then they get their paycheck or their big massive rewards from a massive deal that's gone through. Then they go out and spend all their money buying crazy shit in order to feel fulfilled. And then they wonder why they burn out and miserable and tired and fat and overweight. So what we've got to do, and this comes back to when we're working with people through like physical rehabilitation, the first thing you want to do is establish like, why do you do what you do? What's important, and where do you want to be by the time you die?
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah.
Okay. Because if not, you're creating like, I might want to be somewhere in a year, but a year's not enough time. Like if when the prefrontal cortex comes online, or the prefrontal cortex, or it's called the executive center sometimes.
Yeah.
When that part of the brain comes online, it stabilizes our emotional state, so it regulates our emotions. When we drop down and we go to a more primitive part of the brain, which is the limbic system, which is our emotional system, the emotional system is that roller coaster. It's up and down all the time. Yeah. So anytime we have an emotional high, we've got to have a crash afterwards. Okay. Anytime we have a crash, we're craving a high again, and so it keeps oscillating back and forward.
Okay.
So, like you can eat the chocolate bar and you'll feel great while you're eating it, but you'll feel guilty and shit afterwards. And that's why your brain's trying to balance out the just dopamine hit that you got, and the sugar, which is artificially stimulating your energy, and insulin and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, so first of all, we want to establish long-term, like at the end of your life, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
Then the next thing is like, let's work backwards, and in 12 months, where do we want to get to? Like, what's a stop-off point that we can stop off and feel like we're on track? Then what do we need to do over the next 90 days? And then work back from that, so that we've got a long-term vision. We've also got some short-term decision-making. And then just work forward with that. The other thing that I try to teach people is that you can't have a positive without a negative, and you can't have a negative without a positive. So if you ask a client, what's the benefit of being in this situation, and keep going and keep going and keep going, and don't let them bullshit you, because I would say that probably 99% of the people that I work with have strong confirmation biases around whether things are good or bad.
Okay, like...
well, there's no such thing as a good or bad.
It's a moral thing, isn't it? Good or bad.
But morals are just an idea.
That's what. It's a
nothing can be good or bad.
It's a social.
So it's it is a social construct.
Construct.
So someone might say my injury's bad.
Yes, and it's.
But at the same time, what are the massive benefits of it? Like, some of my injuries in the past, I've got to connect with some people who are way more intelligent than me, which also fit my highest values, because I love learning. So therefore, the injury has actually benefited my life and pushed me back to my highest values. Sometimes people have injuries and pain because it allows them to connect with certain people. If you have a look at most of our society that suffer, the majority of people who suffer in our society do so because they have more benefits to suffering. They don't want to change. So then you've got to, and most people don't want to ask this question because they're afraid. And they're afraid to ask those questions because they don't want to be seen as being a prick. But the truth is, if you don't want to be in the position that you're in, fucking change it. It's not that hard. But most people don't want to push people to make that change. So when someone says, look, I've got back pain. Instead of going to the doctor and going, look, dude, you're fucking 50 pounds or 50 kilos overweight, lose some fucking weight. The doctor goes, it's probably bad genetics, and it's probably, you're probably not making some good lifestyle decisions, and you're stressed out, and there's always something to blame. We have to make a choice. Do we want to be responsible for our life, or do we want to get away with it in the moment because it feels better? So we might, like in the moment, I can say the pain that I'm feeling right now isn't my fault. Now, that feels good because I don't have to be responsible.
Short term.
But then long term, I'm going to suffer for the rest of my life because I'm not going to do shit about it.
That's exactly right. That's it.
So whether we like it or not, we're going to have pleasure and pain and suffering either way. So then the question becomes, what sort of life do you want to live? It's fucking hard to eat healthy, but it's also hard not to eat healthy because you're going to feel fat and shit about yourself. So what hard do you want? What suffering do you want? Do you want to suffer by getting up in the morning and going out to the gym when it's cold and shitty and you don't want to do that? Is that the suffering that you want? Or do you want to suffer because you look in the mirror and you hate yourself? What's the suffering you want? But there's just this extreme lack of accountability as a whole throughout our society, where you can go to the doctors and just bitch and moan and complain, and the doctor goes, well, it's not your fault, here's a drug. Now, I've got no problems with medication, I've got no problems with drugs, but I think that I think the majority of drugs that are given out are just a simple solution to a deeper problem. And like if you're consistently injuring yourself at the gym because you're overtraining, and I keep giving you anti-inflammatories, is that dealing with a real fucking issue?
Well, that's facilitating bad habits, isn't it? So
100%, but that's exactly what happens in the system, right?
So that's like because making people change or make people make that leap is you don't want to put that on someone, because then you don't want to fuck up their life in a way, do you? So you don't want to have that.
You're fucking up their life either way.
Yeah, but I know, it's right, isn't it? So
well, that's what I've come to the realization, and this is why our events, we get like 70 to 100 people at our events, versus an event that makes people feel good in the moment will have 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Because I can get you to jump around, high five people, fucking hug each other, tell everyone like you're going to smash it and you're going to achieve all this shit. Or you come to my event and I go, right, what are you going to do about it? Let's change this shit.
Yeah.
What don't you like about your life, and what decisions are you going to make to change that?
Hard questions, people.
You've got to make decisions.
How
do you want to live your life? Now, I find that some people love that because they go, actually, during our event on the weekend, we had a couple of really deep cases, and I don't want to go too much into this because number one, privacy of clients, but number two as well, I don't want to be seen as a person who fixes people, because that's not my job. And I tell people all the time, like a lot of people come up to me after attending our events and they go, you changed my life. And I go, no, don't ever fucking say that, because I don't change shit. You made the decision, you made the change, you own the courage, not me.
That's true.
I'm responsible for maybe inspiring you to change. And I have the tools to help you to do that, but I wasn't the person who changed. You were. So you keep your courage. Because that's a tool that you need for the rest of your life. And I don't want to take, I'm responsible for my life. They're responsible for their life. And so I want to make sure that they feel privileged to be that person who made that change, not me. Anyway, there was a couple of situations where people had been seeing different therapists and shit like that. We had one guy who he'd been diagnosed with ADHD and really sort of struggling to get results and going around in circles, and he'd started uni multiple times. He was in his late 20s, started uni multiple times, dropped out, really lost in life. And then when I would start talking to him, he'd tell me all the reasons and all the justifications as to why it's the ADHD's fault. And, you don't understand because my brain's wired differently. And, I've seen this doctor and this doctor's said this and this, And I said, I don't give a fuck what any of those people have said. Like, because he said, I've tried everything. And I said, I haven't seen you at my events before. And straight away, it stops. And I said, well, have you been to my events? And he goes, no. And I said, well, you haven't tried everything because you're here now. Let's deal with whatever's here. And I said, listen, I'm not going to let you bullshit your way out of this, because this is my reputation on the line. So one of two things is going to happen. You're going to make the commitment to change, or you can fuck off out of my event, because I don't want you to be here and be another reason why you didn't get the results. I'm happy to kick you out of my events and say you left because you were weak and chose to make that decision. Than you to stay in my events and then walk away and say, I've done Mojo's events, and your life is still shit. So really it comes, I don't even know how we got on this topic, but I guess we're, in flow. But
I suppose with that, you really to actually say that you've tried something. I feel like you have to really give it a good crack to say that it does or doesn't work, sort of thing. Because I suppose a lot of people are kind of going out there, a lot of the time they're half committing to it. They kind of almost half, the half don't want it to work and half they do want it to work. Because there's certain things going on, like you mentioned with the values and also, what their why is and stuff like that. And I suppose those, thinking out loud here, I suppose those are usually symptoms of a much bigger thing, which is what you've just spoken about before, about having an actual, what is the reason. You clean up that sort of stuff, it starts to, fix all the rest of the stuff going through. So
well, that's what happened with this guy. Like one of the first things that I did was, first of all, put him into that corner. Like, either you're going to make the decision to start working on shit, or you're going to leave. And I think that too many people, especially like in the mindset space, the mental health space, they're all worried about. They say they're not worried about it, but they are. They're worried about what other people think. I've had people call me a prick, and I know that I'm a prick, but I'd rather be a prick to someone else and to make them change, and then for them to turn around like in 6 months' time and say thank you, like it was your event that changed my life, or your event that helped me. Than to be the person who's nice to everybody and then end up hating myself because I know that I actually didn't help anybody. And I think in our society, we've got this whole thing of like litigation, and people are afraid, and, I don't want someone to badmouth me or whatever. And so they're just afraid to say really what needs to be said. If an overweight person walks in, it's 100% your fault. Like, okay, you had a shitty childhood, but what the fuck does that have to do with what you're putting in your mouth? Okay? It's a compensation. So let's deal with that, and let's deal with that situation. Like, I'm not going to blame the individual, but what I'm going to do is it's time to take responsibility. If it's a problem in your life, then you've also got the solution. So, and I hear people all the time talk about their problems over and over and over again. How the fuck does talking about your problems help the problem? Let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about where we're going, what you really want to achieve. Let's get clarity on all that stuff, and then let's work towards that. And yes, you're going to stuff up. And I tell everyone at my events, like, don't put me up on a pedestal. I don't have my shit together. No one has their shit together.
No.
Anyone who tells you that they have their shit together, stay away from them because they're full of shit, right? We are all humans and we're all having a human experience. You're trying to figure out your life. I'm trying to figure out my life. The viewers are trying to figure out their life. So let's get over that fact of like trying to be perfect and I'm afraid to fail and I'm afraid what people are going to say, because I know that I'm the biggest fuck up in my life. And until other people admit that they're a fuck up, then you can't move forward. So let's stop trying to like, sugarcoat shit. So going back to the rehab thing is like, first of all, it's long-term vision and then responsibility. Like you have to be responsible for the results that you want, because it's gonna end and it's gonna start with you. So when a person makes a decision to change, that's the thing that's gonna change. When a person keeps saying, I've gone to the gym, twice this week and I still haven't lost any weight. Yeah, but at the same time, you just put an extra like 15,000 calories because you told yourself that it was okay to eat more because you've done like 10 minutes really of training.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Like it's...
Yeah, you got to take responsibility for your actions that you're doing there. Then.
Yep. And I tell everyone at my event, like one day you're going to die. You're going to die, I'm going to die, we're all going to fucking die. And I say every day we're a day closer to death. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, or I like it or not, we're getting closer to dying. So when that scares the shit out of people, you got to make a decision. If you died tomorrow, are you going to look back at today and say, I made shitty decisions or I made good decisions? Are you going to be proud of the life that you created, or are you going to hate yourself for the life that you've created?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Now, I watch family members pass away and they hated the life that they created. And so when they pass away, number one, they didn't want to die. And number two, they were miserable on the lead up to their death because they knew that they'd fucked up their life. Now, we have a choice. It might be easy now, but it's going to be hard one day. Or it's going to be extremely hard right now, but it's going to be extremely easy one day. Which choice do you want? Take one hand or the other.
That's it.
What I've found, especially after studying, some of the highest achievers over the last 400 or 500 years, from the greatest philosophers to the greatest scientists, to the greatest athletes, to the greatest business owners and whatever, the people who are prepared to do the hard shit every day are those who live the greatest lives. So either we're going to do the hard shit today and then be rewarded for it tomorrow, or we're going to do the easy shit today and suffer for it tomorrow. So how are we going to live?
Which is the longer suffering, it's the doing the short term and then... that's it. It's either short-term pain for long-term happiness, or is it, short-term happiness and then longer-term pain. So that's and I can totally understand that with injuries and issues and stuff like that. It's always it's easy to just go like, oh, it'll just get better, or don't do what you're supposed to do about it. But you feel you can, and there's value in that. You get to take the day off, you get to not go to the gym, you get to eat some chips and that, and then watch TV. But, it's going to really affect you going down the line if you keep doing it. So, but it's just kind of, I suppose, like I said, it's, if you get to the actual reason that's why you want to do it, you're going to be like, well, why am I like doing this in the short term? It just like, there's a mismatch. You know what I mean? It's just, I feel like some people that come in, it's like, you want to help them right there and then, but it's kind of like, because I was in that spot, where I was injured and stuff like that, but it's just, what about like with people, you feel like just people, they're just not ready. Do you feel like that's a thing, or is
100%.
Yeah.
Well, they just haven't got enough pain yet. So either, you got to wait for the pain to build up. And I guess I speak about this at my events. Like we have a lot of people after our events where they really feel like we've made a massive difference and they love what we do. So they go out and they want everyone to come to our events. And I have to tell people after our events, like, number one, don't try to change your partner. Just walk the walk. And when your partner says to you, like, what have you done and how did you do it? Then feed them little bits. Like, you got to put the breadcrumbs down and let them want to do it. And we've had plenty of people who, after a year or two of their partners doing our events, come to our events because they want to be there. Whereas when you say you have to change, the first thing that most people think is
resistance. It's like a reflex, right? Someone tells you, do you want to buy something? Like I'm going to sell you something. You just, you got to back off like that,
Yeah, totally.
Just a primal reflex, I suppose, that sort of thing. So.
It's, there was a little trick, just because it's on my mind, I'm going to talk about it. But there's a little cool trick that you can use that I would assume that you probably haven't come across, and most people haven't, and most listeners probably haven't as either.
Yeah.
But if you take any moment in time and you think about whatever's going on in your head, there's also the counterbalancer idea. So when you're sitting on the couch, like for the person who comes in that knows that they need to do like physical rehabilitation and work, but it's easy to sit on the couch. If you go to a moment where you're sitting on the couch where you knew you needed to do stuff, what's happening inside your head?
We're kind of thinking, I should be doing this, but I'm doing something else, right?
Yeah.
You're thinking what you should be doing.
And then, so is that chaotic or is that comfortable? Is it
the actual thought?
Comfort? Yeah.
The actual thought is probably uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So comfortably uncomfortable.
100%. So I show people that, like at my events where someone goes, oh, I would do it, but this is happening and this is happening. And I just thought, I'd be more comfortable and, I need a rest. And I go, but so you're thinking about physical rest, but what about mental rest?
Yes.
And then I show them that in their head, they actually have the complete opposite of what they think they're doing anyway.
Yeah, so like you're watching Netflix and chill, but in here you're thinking you're fucking stressed out.
100%. So
and that's you're not getting anything out of that situation, then, are you? So
yeah, and when you're training, you're physically stressed, but what's happening inside your brain?
That. Yeah.
Aren't you calm?
Yeah.
So it depends on how you want to do things, and this is what I've realized over the years: is once you're clear about what you want to do, you're going to be stressed and uncomfortable and comfortable at the same time. So just pick what you want to do.
Okay.
There's a time to rest.
Yeah.
But you've got to feel like you deserve the rest. That way you've got a rested body and a rested mind.
Yeah.
If not, you'll convince yourself that you need rest and you'll have an unrested mind and a rested physical body. But your physical body will be hindered by the unrestful mind. So how do you want to live? I would say the majority of people who think they're comfortable in life are actually extremely uncomfortable mentally. Okay, so how do you want to live?
Yeah. It's got to be consistent, right?
Yep.
Because that's a really good point. No, that's because especially that. I mean, that's the number one thing for procrastination. That's all that is, isn't it?
Yep.
Like you're just avoiding something, but really thinking about. If you're still thinking about it, you might as well do it anyway. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of getting that that action to get you there. So, but I mean, I suppose we all get those periods of time. That happens. We're not perfect, that sort of thing. But it's just as long as you don't do it for too long. You know what I mean? Because it's always well and fine to, it's always optional.
Yep.
Those things like dealing with an injury or an issue. Sure, it's good. Like, I put it off for like the last 6 months or something like that. But if you just keep on doing it, it's really gonna not be great for your life later on. But you just gotta make sure that you get to your point, hit your threshold earlier than later, I suppose. So
yeah, I think in life, like going back and studying like a lot of different philosophies and a lot of different science, it seems like evolution. There's an evolution of information and learning and knowledge that happens, throughout time. And I personally think that all of us are trying to evolve our understanding of the way that we live, from a really young age to, the day we die.
Yeah.
So if we look at how we learn, most people are learning new things and questioning things normally through pain or challenge or stress or frustration. But also there's this, like, the brain has a reward mechanism in there as well that makes us feel really good about something, but also can make us feel shit afterwards as we crash. And most people don't correlate the two.
Okay.
So what I consistently think is that there's always a learning process to everything. And so if we've got injuries, you might be great at exercising, but if you've got injuries, there's pain there. Pain is a teacher. It's teaching you a lesson. So what's the lesson that you need to learn? Now, you're either going to learn that lesson and pass the test, or you're going to keep repeating the same test. And life is just grades. And I've seen this working with all different types of high performers. So you get professional athletes and they're here, but they want to be here. Then they get to there and they go, yeah, but I need to be here. And so it's almost like there's levels. Now, extremely wealthy entrepreneurs as well, same thing. There's just levels of wealth. It's not like they get to a point and go, I've achieved everything I need to. It's just levels. So in order to go through those levels, it's the same as school. You learn lessons and then you get given a test. If you pass the test, you go to the next level. If you don't, you stay at the same level and you repeat shit over and over and over again. When you look at most people in life, most people are fairly adaptable up until their late teens, and then they just get really rigid with the way they think about things. And they just keep repeating the same shit over and over and over again, hoping that it works. So they'll get in the same shitty relationship over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And they just date, they might date. I've got mates who do this, and I try and get them to my events, but they're, and then, when the shit hits the fan, they want to do it. But it seems like at that moment where they need to make decisions, there's never an event close enough, and then they keep putting it off and whatever.
Okay.
But they keep dating the same woman, just has a different name and a different fucking haircut.
And
they're like, oh, I've met the love of my life. And I go, you mean like the same as a 15 that you've had over the last 10 years? Like, it's the same pattern, but they just don't realize it. Some people do it where they make money, lose money, make money, lose money, make money, lose money, and they never get ahead. Some people, like, they gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight. And it's just this cycle that they keep going through, but there's something that they need to learn that they haven't learned yet. And until they learn that lesson, they're not going to pop through that next level.
Okay.
But in order to learn and implement something, it's going to take a bit of pressure and a bit of stress, because there are common laws of the universe and there's common laws in nature. One of the laws of nature that I always talk about is things either grow or they die, and nothing stays the same. So any living organism grows or dies. It's that simple. So humans, either we're growing or we're dying. Now, if we're not growing physically, we're dying physically. And we call that the aging process. It's just most people speed that shit up. When you look at, I've got friends of mine now, like I'm 37, I've got friends of mine, they're like, oh, my back's stuff because I'm getting old. And I'm like, it's not because you're old.
Oh, I get that all the time in here.
It's because you've got some shitty movement pattern, and then you hurt your back, so then you adjust, and now you got a fucked knee and then a stuffed ankle. It's not your ankle, and it's not your age that's the problem.
No, you got to wait till you're at least 70 or plus to actually use that excuse and have it be valid, you know what I mean? Like,
but even then, there's 90-year-olds that are running marathons.
Oh yeah, you're true.
You know what I mean? Like,
true,
why can a 90-year-old run a marathon when a 30-year-old can't run a marathon? And they say that their body's stuffed. I just consistently look at it like we're always butting up against barriers, and we're either going to push through those barriers, which helps us to grow and expand, or we're just going to stay stuck. And most people just stay stuck. So going back to growth or death. Every area of our life needs to consistently grow, or else it dies and it's going backwards. Then if you have a look at the laws of the universe, there's another consistent one that I talk about, and it's everything in the universe expands or contracts. Nothing ever stays the same. And you can see this right from quantum physics right through to cosmology. Things are either expanding or contracting at some point. Now, they're always, I believe they're always balancing out or trying to neutralize. But if we take those two principles, expansion happens through pressure. So when there's pressure, things expand. And when there's stress, things grow. So throughout our own lives, we can make a choice. Are we going to take on stress and pressure and grow and expand? Or are we going to try and avoid the stress and avoid the pressure, which actually causes contraction and a slow death? So how do we want to live? And I bring this up almost at every event that I run, because unless you're committed to pressure and stress, then you're not really committed to growth and expansion within your own life. So if I've got a stuff back and I come in and you're helping me do training or whatever, if I want everything to be easy, well, what I'm saying is I don't want stress, which means I don't want growth. So then what's going to change? You might as well just sit at home on your ass on the couch and eat shitty food. And the pressure's going to build up eventually anyway. It's just how much pressure and how much stress do you need before you change?
That's it. Everyone's got their own threshold, isn't it? So, but it's just kind of, you can only help people so much to get to that threshold where they actually want to, take on that pressure. Well, when there's enough pressure to get that growth and experience that growth. So doing that is, there's a hard task for the majority of us. So, because if you do kind of try to push change onto people, I mean, often, if not, you can kind of push them away from you, and then you can't help them. So it's, it's a hard thing. In general. So
what I've realized though, from working with tens of thousands of people, is that when someone's ready, they're ready. When they're not ready, they're not ready. No matter what you do.
All right, cool. They
just, they're just not ready to. They're not ready to change. I've sat clients before where clients will come to me and say, and I charge a lot of money. Like I was talking to a lawyer earlier today, and I'm almost double their price per hour. And there's a good reason for that. And we'll just, we're talking about different clients and stuff. And I said, I've definitely sacked a fair few clients over the years because what I don't want to have happen, like I take what I do seriously, and I love helping people to achieve and feel more successful in their own life and feel more fulfilled, because I think that it's an absolute tragedy. And part of this comes back from a story that I didn't talk about earlier. But when I was about 20, 21, my best mate's 3-year-old niece was killed in a car accident. And I just remember, how can life just be taken away just like that?
Yeah.
Now, there's a small part of me that gets really pissed off when people have a choice to live a great life and they just don't fucking do it. Because someone else is dying right now and wishes that they had the ability to live that great life and they can't live it. And so it pisses me off when people don't want to achieve and when people don't want to, like, whatever that is. Like, I don't care whether someone wants to be the best mum or build a business or be a great trainer or, you know, be a great physio or a doctor of medicine or whatever. Like, just be great at something. Only you know what that is based on your values and your mission in life. But don't fucking sit there and watch TV and binge eat food and then say how shitty your life is and then go to the doctor and get heavily medicated so that you numb all your pain. Because your life is going to turn out shit and essentially you just committed to death. You just don't know it. It's going to take 40 years to do that. You know, to me, it's pointless. So, but I mean, I don't get too wrapped up in client stuff as well. Like I say at my events as well, you do whatever you want to do because I'm going to go to bed at night and I'm going to put my head on the pillow and I've got to be okay with what I've done. So, you know, you live your life, I'll live my life. And tonight I'm going to go to sleep and not worry about what you're doing in your life.
That's it. That's the reality of it. It's like, I remember when I was going to all those physios trying to get my shoulders and stuff worked out, I used to go through where I just go to them and they're the people to fix me. They're doing it. But, you know, I realized, like, going from hopping to one to the other, nothing was working, you know, and I kind of realized, well, you know, they can have a crack at it and whatnot, but if I don't actually do the research and actually go into like why I'm not getting better and rather make it someone else's responsibility, if I made it my own responsibility, then that's when things started to actually happen. I started to get better. I started to find people that could actually help me, that were actually better at helping me. I suppose it's just taking that responsibility for your own life and not just outsourcing it to someone else. Because, like I said, they go to sleep at night. You know, they only spend an hour with you, maybe a week or something like that. After that, they're not going to think about you. So it's you've really just got to take that responsibility. So, and that can also be liberating at one point, you know, when you actually, you know, it can be a bit more like, I suppose, confronting. It's confronting, but then it can almost be like, well, if I've got responsibility for my body and everything, then that means I can do this. I can make the decisions in my life to move forward rather than let everyone else around me to do it. So,
I 100% agree. And I just think that, you know, in this country, because we have it so easy, and whether people want to admit it or not, we have it so easy. You know, you can wake up and you can get up in the morning, walk to your fridge, grab a pizza from last night that you ate at 10 o'clock at night, grab your bong, pack it, smoke weed, grab a beer out the fridge at 11 o'clock in the morning and eat leftover pizza and watch Jerry Springer for the rest of the day. And you know that you're still going to have a roof over your head. You do that shit in most other countries around the world and you're dead.
That's right.
You go to hospital in this country and you walk in there and say, you know, I'm sick and whatever. And I know this from working at the medical centres. The majority of people were there for a few common reasons. Number one, a lack of responsibility. Number two, the majority of people were there, especially elderly, were there because they wanted connection. Because in our society, unfortunately, you know, old people just pushed aside and, you know, most people have other shit to do instead of look after their family and things like that. So they become lonely and they know that someone cares. So they go in there and they want to talk to the doctor and complain about all their problems and things like that because they get connection from it.
Definitely an element.
And so that they were like probably the two most common things that I would consistently see. But if you're in most other countries around the world, not all countries, there's some great healthcare around the world. But some other countries, like in some of the Asian countries, in some of the African countries, even in, you know, South America and some of those countries, you walk into the doctor, you walk into or you say you have an injury or, you know, you fall off your motorbike or whatever. They pretty much take you to the hospital, and if you don't have cash on you or someone can't pay, they just grab you and they drag you straight out the front and they leave you in the fucking gutter to die. And so our country is so amazing. Like I know most people don't like paying tax, but I actually don't mind paying tax, even though, you know, sometimes it stings a little bit, but I don't mind paying tax because we have a great healthcare system. You know, I can drive down the street without nappies and shit. I can go for a swim at the beach and, you know, there's not rubbish all floating around. Although there is still a bit of that. So we live in such a beautiful, amazing country. But the problem that also happens with that is that there's also a lack of accountability and a lack of responsibility, because why be responsible? You don't have to.
Because everything, it's all happening around you. Or just if you just plug into the system, just coast through.
Yeah.
You know, you think it, but it doesn't always work out that way. That's what I thought. I thought, you know what, I got an injury, I got an issue. I'll just plug into the healthcare system, go see physio, It's like with the work cover stuff. Think, you know, if I just show up, it'll just all happen because they've got a system for me. They know what to do. They'll fix me up and do everything. But at the end, it doesn't always work out that way. And sometimes you have to really get your head into it and take responsibility, and you've got to do the work, you know. So it's it. So
100%.
Yeah.
So I don't know even if that answered your original question, which was about the, you know, when a client comes in, but I think the core thing is like big mission. Understand that no matter what you do, there's always going to be challenge, there's always going to be pain, there's always going to be pressure. It's just how are either you in control of it or is something else in control.
Yeah, that's it.
I'd prefer to create pain in my own life than have life give me pain. I'd prefer to have pressure in my own life and control the pressure than have the pressure created. So it all depends on how you want to live. You're going to be comfortably uncomfortable or uncomfortably comfortable. You know, most of my friends who work 80 to 100 hours a week, they can hop on a plane and fly business class with their whole family and they get to wherever they're going. Like, let's say they go to the US before COVID, you know, on a 16-hour flight. It's a shitload more comfortable flying business class. We get a lie-down bed and you get good quality food on there. You know, you can go to nice restaurants when you do go out for dinner. You can take your kids to physiotherapy should they need to. You know, that you can go and do physical rehab. That's a choice that some people make because they work extremely hard and they put in that stress and that pressure, but they can afford to do that. So there's someone who is uncomfortably comfortable. Then you get other people who are extremely comfortable in their day-to-day operation because they go, you know what, I'm just working a 9 to 5 and don't really care. And as long as I get paid at the end of the week, I don't want to have too much output and I get money for grog on the weekend. And that's cool. But then that also comes at a cost. And that is that you're probably never going to fly business class. You're probably, when you do hurt your back, you're probably not going to be able to afford a personal trainer unless it's through Medicare or, you know, the system. So it just depends, like, and then some people want to live in the middle. It all depends. Like, it's what's important to you.
You got to do, you don't want to be like, try to be other people. You got to be like whatever's in, like, your values, and because that's the only way it's going to drive you to move forward in, you know, injury, whatever it is in your life, really. So, but I feel like that stuff is, I love that sort of stuff. Could go on for a long time talking about that stuff, but unfortunately, we'll have to wrap it up, man. So
that's okay.
But that was I'm so glad I had you down here, man. So really love talking about that mindset stuff when you brought up values, like just love that sort of shit, man. So just to wrap it up, we'll kind of you know, thanks for coming down.
My pleasure.
We'll try to like condense, if we can, you know, a little bit of what you said. So let's kind of like, if you've got someone, just to relate it to the people that are watching, like say if you've got someone like, you know, they're down and out, they're injured and they, you know, they've got a lower back issue like you, and they can't do what they wanted to. They love going to the gym, but they can't, their body's saying, no, you can't do it anymore. What kind of, you know, if you could condense, like, what kind of advice would you give to them? What's the first thing they should start thinking about to kind of get them through that, the first, like, I suppose, the rough patch of it, which is the injury itself? A few really quick things. The first thing is why. Why is it important? So if when you gave the case study, I guess, is this a person who's already going to the gym and they've injured themselves, or is it a person who's not going to the gym and they've injured themselves? Let's say they've been going to the gym 5-10 years. And it's just like, this is like their thing. Like if they don't have the gym, then, you know, it's really you know, they're fucked, basically, you know. Let's say that. So that's their passion, you know. Then
the first thing that they need to do is grab a pen and a journal or a notepad. I shouldn't use the word journal because most people, when they think about it, think of, like, you know, a pretty little thing that girls have. That
you can do that. I don't care.
But like, just a notepad, and write down why is it so important for you to go to the gym, and what's the emotional stress because of. So I would assume that if this is someone going to the gym and they perceive that this is the thing that they really love to do. Is it really what they love to do? Like, do they love movement and do they love training? Or is there something else underlying? So if you've got an underlying insecurity around your body image, is it a body image issue that's actually coming up that you need to deal with? Is it a issue that you tend to not have a great diet, and so that you compensate for your diet with training and exercise? which then, that's another pattern of behavior that you need to deal with. Yeah. So what is it really that's bringing up all the emotional shit for you? Okay. I used to go through stages like that as well, where I use gym as a compensation for my shitty diet. I don't eat a great diet now. I eat a good diet, but I wouldn't say it's what it used to be like, measured and all that sort of shit. Because I eat out most days. But back in the day, I used to use it as a compensation because I would, binge eat certain foods, and then all of a sudden now I'm like, got to smash out all these extra training extra training and extra calories. So it was actually a shitty diet in the first place.
Trying to out-exercise the diet.
Yeah. So what's really going on for that person? And they need to analyze that. And that's where someone like me comes in for the mindset stuff. It blows people away because you can tell there's so many different compensations that humans have. They just don't realize it. And even if you just look at a person's values, if you understand what you're looking for in a person's values, you can already tell exactly what their insecurities are. Because our insecurities are directly related to our values. So if someone, for instance, if you've got a young girl who's at the gym and she has a high value on beauty, then her biggest insecurity is around the way she looks. So she's only training and exercising because she wants to optimize her beauty, which then makes her feel good about herself and builds her self-worth. Or the other side is, if that goes even slightly wrong, it's going to lower her self-worth and make her feel like shit. Now that's, all of us have that, and it's a very fine balancing line. My highest value is teaching and learning. So I have a very fine line between how much do I feel insecure around not having enough knowledge, and then studying and learning to help me to build that knowledge, which makes my life feel rewarded and great, versus the other way of feeling like shit because I feel like I'm not smart enough, and then that just stops me from doing anything. And so some people, they have like a thing for their body image, but they don't go to the gym. And so that actually destroys their self-worth. Instead of going to the gym and realizing that they're never ever going to feel like they're good enough, only little moments in time after they train, they'll go, wow, I feel really great about myself. And then it's a fine line of like, okay, I overate a little bit of food. Now I just need to sort of balance that back out, learn what I need to learn. And you keep everything in sort of like a fine-tuned point. And that's where we're going to have our greatest self-worth, self-love, self-respect, self-confidence. Outside of that, if we topple the other way and we feel like we're not doing enough, then it becomes a massive insecurity. And then that insecurity can drive us to not do the things that we actually value.
All right.
So it's a very fine-tuned mechanism. But anyway, so the first thing is get the journal and figure out why specifically with the training, what the gym really means.
What it gives you, what it means to you, sort of.
Yeah, because it might not just be the gym it might not be what you think it is.
It might be what the gym gives you, or
And if it's someone like me, I love learning. I love learning, as I mentioned. So when I started getting injuries back in the day, I used to just keep training through them, and my body gets more and more fucked, and that's just then I can't lift as heavy, and then I get pissed off because I can't lift heavy anymore, and I'm attached to the number, and it's just this stupid cycle that I'm on. I'm almost every day I'm in seeing different people to get massage and physio and chiros and bloody podiatrists, and just because my body's falling to bits. But then what I realized is that I actually love figuring out how the body works also. So I've got my second highest value is physical movement. So when I realized that and linked it to that value, I went, shit, the rehabilitation is the thing that I actually love anyway. So it's the same thing, whether I'm lifting heavy weights, I'm just pushing myself to try and figure out my body. Whereas when I'm doing rehab, I'm still figuring out my body. So I win either way.
Okay, you just have to kind of coin it that way to yourself, I suppose.
And so it's important to discover why the person loves the gym in the first place.
Because I suppose that's kind of where you, when you're talking about the values, how you mentioned the guy with the, who likes family and work, if you can link those two together with the rehab and stuff, then... that's what you want, right? That's what you're kind of trying to. That's what you're saying.
When it's not linked, it's a gain or loss. So if I go to the gym, I lose time with my family. So then they become torn. Whereas if it's when I go to the gym and I spend an hour at the gym, I actually get more time with my family anyway, because when I'm with them, I'm more present, I'm more alert. I feel better about myself.
More energy.
That's a win-win.
That makes total sense to me. And
most people, when they have values conflicts in their head, everything's a win-lose. Like if I do this, then I can't do this. If I do this, and so you
can have both. That's kind of the answer, right?
I mean, we've got 24 hours in a day, but it's all how they're interlinked.
Yeah. Okay.
Randy values. I won't go too deep into that, but yeah.
Oh, this is no, that's all right. All right, cool. So I think that's I think it's going to be very helpful for people in there that are watching. So just to finish off, where can people find you? Where can they find you on the internet and stuff?
Okay. For anyone who's watching in, Michael Mojo on Instagram. Michael Mojo, it's Michael Mojo 00 on Instagram.
Yep, that's
Michael
right.
Mojo 00 on Facebook.
Yep.
Michael Mojo 00 on Instagram.
Yep.
Our website is themojomaster.com.au or Mojo Human Performance Institute as well.
Yep.
We've got a website there as well that'll redirect you to the Mojo Master one.
Yeah.
But pretty much Michael Mojo 00 across any of our socials and you'll find me.
Okay, you can Google you and find
if you just type in Michael Johnson Mojo Master or Michael Johnson Mojo, it'll come up.
Yep. All right, cool. Man, it's been awesome to have you here on the first episode. It's better than it was awesome. It was awesome. I can't say much more than that. So thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure. And thanks everyone for watching.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap this up. I could go talk on and on about this sort of mindset stuff. I really love this sort of shit. It's got me through, like in the past, my injuries stuff got me through so much bad shit.
Yep.
It's just really good talk. Hopefully one day we'll get you back on again.
That'll be awesome.
And kind of go deeper if that is possible. I'm sure it's possible though. So
yeah, mate, we're scratching the surface. There's some really cool stuff that we can dive into, but I try and sort of hold back a little bit as well. Just because a lot of it needs, you sort of have to understand the surface level stuff before you dive into the deep stuff as well. So it freaks people out.
Yeah. It's like because I've been to the events, like I've done Tony Robbins and stuff before.
Yep.
That's why he has it like a 4-day event, man. It's like it's great stuff. All right, anyway, we'll wrap up. This is the end of the first episode. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Adam, and I'll help you return to the gym and stay there.